Hello, Janksters, and welcome to another edition of the MagicJank podcast, the weekly show where members of Team MagicJank get together and discuss the latest happenings in Magic the Gathering. I'm Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and we are joined this week by Carlos C. Favredo Jr. How you doing, man?
Hello, everybody.
And then we also have Damien F16 in the house. Damien, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I love the enthusiasm. I'm doing great too. Here in America, we just had Thanksgiving, so I'm still a little stuffed. It's been well more than 24 hours since diving into that, and yeah, it was great.
Jealous.
What can I say? I know, right?
I'm jealous.
It was a no belt kind of night. Yeah.
It was, you had to loosen it a couple notches.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta let it. Mm-hmm.
Gotta make space, you know.
Absolutely, of course.
But, you know, I know my American friends have turkey jealousy in September when us Canadians are celebrating our Thanksgiving. Now
True.
I've got the turkey. I've got the turkey envy. Okay, I love turkey. I so I hope you guys have a great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I still have plenty of leftovers. I can't. It's a great time. Anyway,
Jealous.
Well, all right.
Jealous.
So yeah, everybody out there enjoy the turkey. Enjoy it because it's going to be out of season here way too soon. So let's just enjoy it while we can.
Well, Christmas is coming. I don't know.
I mean, that's true.
There are families who do the turkey thing on Christmas.
You can do the turkey thing, you can do the ham thing. Christmas is a little more when it comes to the food, it's kind of a little more dealer's choice, you know. Whereas with Thanksgiving, it's very like traditional.
Why is that? Why
I don't know.
Is turkey a fourth quarter bird? It's only in the fourth quarter of the year that we eat turkey. Why is it always at the end of the year? I want to have turkey on my birthday in February. Why not?
Heck yeah.
Nope, can't buy it anywhere. Like it's just.
I know.
Anyway.
What's up with that? Yeah.
Crazy. There may
It's a
be
shame,
more
really.
important things to talk about, but I think this turkey issue needs.
You know what? Hey, there are a lot of traditional like holiday seasonings and flavors that you just can't get outside of that. Like I enjoy peppermint in all my hot beverages, even in the summer. I don't care. Okay, guys. Like anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
In any event, but so yes. Don't worry, there will be plenty more tangents much like that, but most of them will involve magic, I promise. So before we dive into the meat of the episode, I do want to give a huge shout out to MagicJank.com, the namesake of the show, the online marketplace where you can buy and sell Magic the Gathering products and gear. There are also some awesome deals going on right now for the holiday season, MagicJank.com. Also, right now you can actually get Quiver products at up to 15% off over on MagicJank.com. So not a big deal, just saying, if you want to roll up to your LGS in style, MagicJank.com, we've got you. Check it out. It's awesome. Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. And again, MagicJank, thank you so much.
Yeah, Quiver gear is nice too. We all got samples of that stuff, and they were very, very sweet items. Like the playmat holders and the card cases. I gave a couple away. I know my channel was super stoked to get them, and they've said anything about so.
Oh, they're fantastic. Yeah, if you're transporting Magic decks for any reason, even not just Magic, like if you're doing anything with card games, if you've got, I don't know, One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, if you're moving, cards from place to place, it is high quality luggage designed for card game decks. And accessories. They're great. Yeah. Good stuff. So here we are. Lost Caverns of Ixalan has been out for a couple weeks now, and we've had an opportunity to kind of tinker with things. And today, I know we touched on this a little bit last week, but I want to kind of dive in a little bit deeper this week as well on not only kind of how the different formats have kind of coalesced around it, because people are getting, I feel like the power level on this set is high enough that people are really trying, they're really experimenting with it. I know we've seen formats in the past or like certain sets come and go, and they're just like, well, this one card's neat, I guess, and the rest just kind of gets discarded. That doesn't seem to be the case here. And so I definitely want to discuss that. But then we also have, I know we have a sealed open coming up, or maybe it has passed by the time you're listening to this, depending on when you downloaded it. And so that's a whole thing too. So the limited environment is another one that I know. I've played a number of draft games with this set because I don't know. It's a good way to bolster the collection on Arena, and it is just an interesting format, and I wanted to dive into that too. So, actually, you know what? Let's get started on that one. So when it comes to Lost Caverns of Ixalan Limited, I'm curious, how much time have you guys been spending in that, and kind of, what are your thoughts? So, Damien, if you wouldn't mind kind of kicking us off, when it comes to LCI Limited, what's been your experience so far?
It's been a very interesting ride so far, to be honest. The set has thrown a lot of people for a loop, and this is all the big content creators, all the limited, aficionados who post most of the content and who stream and have podcasts and everything. They've been suffering. A lot of them have had lower than typical win rates. A lot of them are like, I don't know what's going on in this format. Best of one's a gong show, and I'm just going to play best of three. It's more stable or more, I don't know, you have more agency in because the sideboard is sort of sideboarding and stuff. Anyway, so I've been playing a ton. I don't know how much you guys have played, but I've been playing a bunch this week to get ready for the Open. I'm going to try and take a shot at the Open, even though my results have been the same. The early access, felt good. I had a couple 7-win decks, and okay, I'm kind of getting this. And then last week, I was drafting throughout the week, had pretty rough records, like just all over the place. Like 1-3, 2-3, 6-3. 5-3, 0-3, 0-3. And I can't tell, like, when I look at the bad decks, the ones that go 0-3, quote unquote bad, I can't exactly pinpoint where they're going wrong. I feel like I'm doing the thing that this archetype is supposed to be doing. Like I'm trying to, and some of the decks are good if you get all the pieces, like whether it's blue, black, descend, or right now, the consensus in the format is the Jeskai colors are the best. White and blue, or one of those, is the best, or red is one of the best colors. And the funny thing is, nobody is on the same page. You ask one content creator, they say white's the best. You ask another one, they say no, red is the actual best. You ask another one, they say blue is the best. So the only thing everybody agrees on is that black and green are not as good as the other three. But, and this is early, and I've had a lot of people come into my channel and go, but the 17 lands data says this, and the 17 lands data says red, black's the worst, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, stop. Don't tell me anything about the 17 lands data for the first week of the format. It's a waste of time to even look at it. You are, misleading yourself, all this stuff. Anyway, so when you ask what does the format look like, it's hard to tell. First, we have no data, or the data isn't great yet, especially because the people who contribute that data are these entrenched players who are literally going on Twitter and going, I'm lost. I don't know what's going on here. Like this.
Right.
So the data is meaningless, but it's really interesting. Again, the format is good. I like it. I think the limited format is fun. I think there's a bunch of stuff going on. I don't know if all the colors are, quite as good. I just feel like the white commons are so pushed. Every limited set feels like this. But the best part about this format, red-black is the worst color combination.
It's been a minute.
I mean, that's what people are saying. But
right.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's usually the best color combination. So that's been my experience. I don't know how you guys feel. Favretto, what do you think about this?
Yeah, do you remember the days of like core set draft where all we needed to worry about taking was Lightning Bolt and Doomblade, and instantly we had the best draft deck at the table, and how sets used to have a print run. Like if you saw a Doomblade in a pack, you probably weren't going to see X and out of like Lightning Bolts and stuff. I remember that limited. But I've had mixed results, and it's curious that most people are saying like the Jeskai colors are the same or are the best, when I think just from consuming the content, like just in general, I think I've heard that blue might be the worst color according to most people.
Really?
I don't know that I agree, because I love the blue cards in the set. I'm a fan of like the blue-white artifact strategy, even though folks say it's not the best, or it's not really that good. I agree with you about red-black finally being kind of poop, because we, like you said, we haven't had that in quite a while. I also, I'm somebody that forces dinos. You already know this, so I think red-green is very good. Especially if you can get lots of its Quinets, you can get the Huatley's Strike card is great. Well, it's fantastic.
Can I interject 1 second about that Dino deck? What I love, and I just discovered this recently in like the last day or two, you can draft it 2 different ways. I always figured, okay, I want the tree frogs. I want the, if I get that uncommon 1-mana dork, okay, great. I'm going to be ramping into these 6 drops and these 7 drops.
Yep.
But there's a totally different Dinos deck that exists that I just recently realized was a thing, which is all the 2s and 3 drops and just the 3-mana 3/3 that the armored something that ETBs and gains 3 life, just a bunch of those.
Oh yeah.
And the 2-mana 2/2 red creature that gets 1/1 when you have a Dino and it attacks and blocks. I just got steamrolled by that today, and I was like, what? It was like a low curve Dino deck.
Faster version, and then there's that go wide version where like, hey, my game plan is survive until I can cast my multiple 6 drops and multiple 7 drops, and then you go from there. And whether or not that involves playing multiple of the cyclers. I really like the dinosaur cycling cards in this set. They fix your mana, or they make you get, you know, consistent land drops. And if you can cast the 7 drop Bessie, they get you a 5/5 and a 3/3 token. Like that card's great. So I've been having a blast doing that. I would say that my favorite thing to do is sort of play the explore decks. I think they are most interactive. Whether that's, you know, having your blue-green combination, playing some of the Merfolk, the 2/2 for 3 mana flyer is a top pick for me.
Best blue common.
Yeah, the common card. Yeah. So that's what I've been enjoying playing with.
Nice.
So I would rate that pretty high. Also, there's like a really good blue-red deck archetype in here. You know, when Abrade at common now hits like 85% of cards in the draft format, you know, pack one, pick one in an Abrade isn't out of the realm of possibilities.
Do you know what the data says? The data says the best red common is not Abrade, apparently.
Really?
The best common, according to 17 lands as of like yesterday, is Itali's Favor, the 3 mana 3 aura, and I'm like, what, over Abrade?
I love that card, but there ain't no way.
I mean, it's neat, but like this is a jumped up +1/+1 counter. Like, yeah, you got to be kidding me. There's no way.
Well, there's some.
I mean, the Discover's real. Like, I know the Discover's real, but like,
if you get a bunch of them, they chain, right? Like, you can
they
chain
sure
them
do.
and stuff, which is pretty gross. But yeah, come on, Abrade, like Ferretto just said, it hits not only all the early stuff, like that effect is always good, but, you know, hitting the big artifacts. But this also is so interesting about this format that, you know, I've heard some content creators, I can't remember who it was, maybe it was LSV or somebody on Limited Resources, was saying the removal is good, but the good removal in this set is bad. And it was like, what? And I was, and then, like, you know, explained it. And it basically means like the removal is costed appropriately, and it's what we would expect. It's what we consider good removal. But because of the format, and every creature is 1 mana or ETBs and makes a card for like 2 mana or 1 mana or 3 mana, your Abrades are trading with 1-drops. So the Abrade is like, it's still good. Or your other removal, like it's bad. It's almost trading down mana, and it was like Kamigawa. Anyway, Ferretto, sorry, you want to say?
Yes, I understand that point. But your 1-drops that Abrade's killing are the Birds of Paradise card that's allowing you to cast a really big 6/6 dino on turn 2 that you can't then deal with, right? Or it's killing something like your Pirate, your Siren that explores. It becomes a 2/2 flyer basically on turn 2.
Stuff like that.
Like, I want to kill those cards. So yeah, it hits those 1-drops and those 2-drops, but they're relevant for your opponent to go wide with whatever the strategy is.
Right. That's true. I just feel like those 1-drops, like that blue uncommon 1-drop flyer that makes a map, like you're almost trading down on that. Like the Abrade, like they got 2 cards out of it. You know what it reminds me of? Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. It was the same idea there, where every card had so much built-in value, and add to the fact that cards had ninjutsu, it just meant removal was bad almost. Like spot removal, sweepers are different, but 1-to-1 removal is not great when every creature they play makes another card or has an ETB effect or gets value or just costs 1 mana. Like, you know, it's kind of, so it's weird that like, there's good removal in the set, it's costed appropriately, but playing a deck with a bunch of removal, which, like you said, back in the day, like, you know, when we used to draft back core sets and stuff, that was good enough. You'd beat them with a ham sandwich. Windrakes, sure, a random, like, 3/3 on the ground, whatever. As long as I have enough removal, I'm just going to kill all your stuff. You're going to run out of action, and that's it. You can't do that in this set. And I think this has been it's not every set that we see this, but this one, and, like, I think Kamigawa Neon Dynasty was the last one that was this close to being, like, the removal's bad, which is crazy to say, but it's like, you know. So you need it. What you said, Ferretto, is absolutely true. You need to still play removal. It just that I would rather have a productive 2-drop. I would rather have that Merfolk, you know, Windrake Explorers. I don't know the names of any of the cards. Sorry, guys.
It's all good. No worries.
But so we'll see. The format's sweet. I think Green Red Dinos is good. I've drafted the Blue White Artifact deck. I've drafted the most. That deck is awesome. I love the grind. There's so many little, like the Tote the 3-mana artifact that makes 2 1/1s.
Oh my goodness, that card's
is
great.
an artifact that you can sacrifice. 3 pieces of paper for 3 mana. That's crazy. You can't just trade cleanly with that. You know, even if the 1/1s just chump, they're buying time, and it's ridiculous. Like a tempo play like that, right? So
yeah, you know, that card, the Tinkerer's Tote, I've really been enjoying playing with the I think it's the Dowsing
the red
dagger.
Artifact,
It's the red artifact. It costs like 1 and a red, and it says when an artifact ETBs, you give a creature +1/+0 and haste. Target creature +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. And then it flips into the land that gives something +X/+O and haste.
Yeah.
Those cards have been fantastic to play with together, and it lets you put more threats on the board late game. And I can tell you, in the streamer event or early access, really didn't value that card very high. It didn't seem good. You know, but those cards, and the other one, it's called Saheeli's Lattice, has been another card that's really impressed me. That's in red, right? It's this artifact. You discard a card, draw 2 cards, and then you can craft it, and it crafts with a dino, and so it makes you a creature after the fact. Like these cards have been great.
Yeah, I like that one's okay. I guess I haven't drafted dinos enough, maybe, but I always felt like the 4 toughness was a bit annoying. It should be star on this card, then it would be respectable. But you know, my favorite are the the craft mechanic. You know, a couple weeks ago I shat all over this mechanic. I wasn't a big fan of.
Sure.
It's just from a design point of view. From a design point of view, I can't stand it. It's terrible. But in play, I mean, it's so like every craft card is good. It's just like the adventure cards. It's like it's so hard for them to be bad because it's like a 2 card in 1 combo. And I think I've loved the iceberg has been awesome for me. I've loved all the white flip cards from even the 1-mana artifact that ETBs and scries to, and then you can craft for 3 into a 1/4 flyer that attacks and gives another creature flying. At first, when I read the front, I'm like, this is still way too low impact. Like, this can't be, like, unless you're crazy about artifacts and you want every single artifact. No, I'm just happily playing those. And I can't tell you how many games that random 3-mana 1/4 flyer has sent another creature to the air, and I just killed them. Like, the blue-white flyers deck is very good. White-red is very good. Blue-red, I haven't experimented a ton with, but I've been steamrolled by some blue-red decks that are good. So, yeah, a lot of good archetypes. But again, everybody is like, nobody can seem to agree on how they should be built exactly, or even in the drafts. Like, it's so hard to get into one of these lanes. I feel like I keep getting like derailed, and it's been really weird.
That's been my experience too. At the end of the day, trying to identify what seat I'm actually in seems to take a long time. But beyond that, I found that my experience with these archetypes has been a little challenging too. I've had a couple of decks that look like they should be good. Because I've drafted, 8 or 9 times at this point, which for me is a lot. Well, I understand for, regular, for some like heavy draft players, that's just one evening. But, so I play this one more than I play most. And it has, it's been interesting. The one deck that I know I'm just confused by there was one table where I was clearly the only player going for caves. I decided, you know what, this cave deck is out there. There are a lot of payoffs. They clearly want you to be able to do it. And
How did that work out for you?
It was a situation where I got like the Bat Cavern or whatever, like pick 2 or something, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this. I ended up getting 2 of the Bat Caves. I got the Giant Leech. I got the cave that fixes mana, and I ended up with a total of 11 caves in the deck.
Oh, decent.
Like,
that's impressive.
And I got 2 of the Molten Collapses too. The Caves Ablaze. I got 2 of those. Like, I honestly, as far as like the Red Sweeper, I got 2 of them.
Oh, that's the key piece.
Exactly.
Wow. So how did it play?
2 and 3, I got my butt handed to me. What more do you want?
What happened?
I think you need about 2 more caves in your deck.
Clearly, yeah. So that was one of those things where like I got all the right pieces, it all came together, and the deck just couldn't hang. It just didn't hold up. Because the reality is, decks like the green red Dino deck, or even the artifact deck, they're doing something relatively straightforward. I'm going to put creatures online, or in the case of the artifact deck, I'm going to get recurring value and ultimately craft into a large finisher, and I'm going to just beat you to death with this big creature. Like, that's where they end. With the Caves deck, it's like, okay, I'm going to hopefully be able to spend 3 mana and probably take some damage in the process because I'm fixing my colors to rock out 1 enchantment that gives me 3 bats. You're going to be able to pick them off or have reach blockers because that's just always how it goes. And I'm trying to hit multiple land drops to put counters on my at the end of the day, I found myself kind of going, okay, but how's this deck trying to win? And it's like, I don't, like, I know how to stall. I can stall a game like a champ, but like actually winning it, it just didn't have any stopping power. And it's just like, yeah, it was rough.
I think I tried drafting a Gates. No, it's pretty much
it feels similar, right?
It is. I've tried drafting this Caves deck before. It's not been great because like every time I've tried or wanted to cast the bat enchantment, I just don't have enough caves in play that matter.
You have 1, maybe 2. If you and it's like you really want to hit all 3, right? Like
right, exactly that. So I'm not sure if maybe it's just not strong enough to try it. But considering the aggressive strategies that are in this draft format, I think the cave strategy is a little too slow. Yeah. As much as we'd want it to work. I tell you though, I really do love the Discover lands. I think they are fantastic. Yes. Yeah. You know, being able to get flooded late game, but have one of those lands to cast a spell is a great limited experience.
It is shockingly valuable, and it comes up way more than you think.
Yeah. I don't know. I was cool. I was high on the caves when I saw them spoiled, and I thought they were going to be great. And then I played the format, and I found even in early access, there are so many mana sinks in this format. You have so many ways to put your mana into stuff, whether it's activated abilities or craft or like adventure and map tokens and blah blah blah, and not adventure, map tokens and explore and all this. That the caves, I was taking them highly, and then I was like, I'm not, if you're not in the caves deck, I'm just going to use my last few picks every pack to pick up those caves. I think I still see, I like them as well. I'm not saying they're bad, but I think I see people using very early picks on caves when they shouldn't be. And like, if you wheel a cave in your color, great, you play the cave, but I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting. The Discover caves are great, but the caves deck, I mean, I only went into it once, and it was because the red Wrath wheeled, and there was 2 going around, and I thought the first one wheeled, I'm going to take this. The second one's going to wheel. That is the key piece. You've got to leverage that Wrath, and then you know, my deck also crashed and burned though. I had 2 of those, and I only had 8 caves though. I had way less caves than you, 11 caves, because that was my issue. I couldn't make it a Wrath for 6, you know. I couldn't make it a Wrath for like a lot, and it would cost me. So the Caves deck, I think you have to be the only person at the table in the Caves deck, and the way to tell if it's you, if it could be you, is to see one of those uncommons get opened or come by you early, like pick 2 or 3, and then knowing that, you know, pick 10 or 11. If this first one comes back, those other ones are going to wheel, and I'm going to get a bunch of caves. But even then, that's what happened in pack 1 to me, and then pack 3, no caves. Somebody else decided in pack 3, I guess they wanted to go cave. I saw none, and I was short caves, and it was like, oh god.
Yeah,
I tell you, that has happened to me way more than I would like it to. When trying to draft dinos, I feel like in this set more than any other, people are switching what their game plan is. Mid-draft, like it's nobody's business. You'll get a whole pack that green's open. Great. I'm the green drafter. And then pack 2, absolutely nothing. But then also absolutely nothing on pack 3. So like what's going on here?
And this is the experience I keep hearing over and over. This is exactly the same thing I was literally just saying today. And I don't know what that is. Is there more? Like, I almost want to say, is there something about this set that attracts newer players, like players who normally wouldn't draft or play limited? Is that what it is? Is it the dinosaurs? Like, what is it? But that sounds so weird. That
might be part of it. I mean, Ixalan was historically a set that was the plane was beloved, even though the set itself was you know, kind of lackluster. So so I think a lot of there's this aesthetic of, oh, maybe they got it right this time, let's go. And for the most part, I think they did. The other thing about this particular format that I think is throwing a lot of things out the window, I think a ton of traditional like draft heuristics or kind of conventional wisdom do not apply to this set at all. So you're saying about people picking caves early. I remember an early piece of advice I was given by a number of people was prioritize the lands, prioritize your mana fixing, because you can, you know, the more lands you pick up, the more picks are going to end up in your final deck, and as a result, the better it's going to be.
Yep.
That is assuming that you're picking up cards like Evolving Wilds or Temple of the Dragon Queen or like or Dual Lands. You know, if that's what you're picking up, then you're fixing your mana, and that is helpful and that is valuable to help cast your spells. Well, these caves are tap lands that tap for one color. You're not fixing squat when you're picking these early.
So
I tell you though, the cave, maybe it's prosperous something, that is a better Evolving Wilds. That taps for a colorless when it ETBs, or you could pay a colorless tap and search for a basic and put it into play. That cave is fantastic. Give me that card instead of Evolving Wilds in every set, please.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that one too. Promising Vein.
Yeah, Promising Vein.
And being an actual cave is huge. Like, make the Evolving Wilds the card that goes in every deck. Also be a relevant type for whatever reason. If it's a set that cares about that, that's perfect. Yeah. No, totally agree. That's the only one I play the most of, and whatever color I happen to be in, I might put one or two. But again, there's times when you don't want to do it. Like white red aggro, you shouldn't be playing caves. Like I don't pick caves. Like maybe one gets in or something. But if there's certain decks that don't want them. But
if it's pick 12 and one of the caves in your color comes up, all right, sure, might as well. You might as well grab one. You just to have it, just in case. It's kind of an emergency release valve if something goes sideways. Yeah, exactly.
So the consensus, I think, from everybody and everybody I've talked to on this format, to wrap it up here, is everybody's like kind of has an idea of what they want to do and what commons and stuff are good. But in the drafts themselves, it feels like a lot of people are struggling to like have these decks come together perfectly because of whatever reason. They get derailed or somebody decides to move in. Like it's almost like maybe there's too much bleed between the different archetypes, so people are going like, Tinkerer's Toad, I can play that in white red, and I can play it in white blue, and I can play it in white green. Like I saw somebody playing a bunch in white green, and I'm playing the white blue artifacts, and I'm angrily, saying to my chat, God, this guy took all, or girl took all the Tinkerer's Toads. That was for me, the artifact deck. What are you doing, green white? But no, it's just good in his deck because, or her deck, they went wide and they had a pump, and that was it. And it was like, oh my God. Yeah, there's too much bleed. Yeah.
I think you're exactly right, because I don't know about you guys, but I've had plenty of situations where going into pack 3, I'm like, okay, I don't exactly know what colors I'm in, but I know I'm in the Descend deck, or I know I'm in the Artifact deck. It's like, I don't know, I can pivot all over the place. It's like, so if I'm in the Descend deck, it's like, all right, I'm probably going to have black in here, but like, is it black blue? Is it black red? Am I don't know, black green? Like, I don't know, things can get weird. And it's easy to do these pivots, and as a result, you're finding it where draft signals are getting wonky, and it's really tough to read. Yeah, this is a weird one. The other thing about this set, just looking at it, I feel like of recent limited sets, there's been this checklist that Wizards has been going down. It's like, okay, we need the gigantic green thing that gains life. We need the 2 mana removal, the cancel with sets mechanic. We need all of these, these boxes checked. And they've been great limited sets. So like, okay, the system clearly works, even if we can kind of see the code a little bit. I feel like this set went a little off the rails and does not follow those guidelines as closely as sets we've seen recently. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that this limited set, in my opinion, is way stronger than like Wilds of Eldraine was. Even though you had silly bonus sheet cards on the last one, this one seems stronger on power level. The common and uncommons are much more powerful in this set than, quite frankly, the last 3 or 4 limited sets. Even March of the Machines. And March of the Machines was grossly overpowered. I think these cards, the way that they play, the way that you need to draft them to construct particular archetypes, way stronger than it is in the last couple sets. And I like that for a limited experience. Of course, there are bombs in this set, but it feels less bomby to me than Wilds was, which I'm glad to return to. So I'll be excited to see, these future sets that they come out with the new booster packs and how that changes it all up. Who knows? We've already speculated on this, and Headology and I and you, Ham, have spoken our piece.
Which was a great episode, by the way. Check it out if you haven't. Yeah. But yes. Yeah. Well, they're very. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say, I think a big part of that is because the rares being not so good. I think it's almost because the middling card, like the not rares, the uncommons, the commons, the mechanics are so good. Like there's so much card advantage. Wilds of Eldraine had adventure, and that's it. Like the other mechanics weren't straight up card advantage. This has discover, which is straight up card advantage. Maps, which is straight up card advantage. A bunch of craft, which is like 2 cards in 1. Like you know, every mechanic in the set is card advantage. So yeah, the big bombs are less swingy because everybody's doing such a grindy. Like you never run out of gas. You always have places to put your mana. There's a million things to do every turn. So many game actions are happening. There's no board stalls where you're just sitting there doing nothing. Everybody like, okay, next turn if they draw land, they're going to turn that 2-mana artifact into a 6/6 or a 7/7. You're just like, oh my god, yeah, it's like a chain of just things you have to deal with. It never ends, and so the big rare bombs tend to swing the format less. Maybe I don't know, but I absolutely agree with what Fabretto was saying as well. But
100%. No, I completely and totally agree. I feel like the lower rarity cards are grinding well enough and working well enough together that for a rare or a mythic to step in and really change the game, it has to be amazing. And when you look at a lot of the mythics in this set, like a lot of the gods, for example, they seem to have these synergies that were clearly designed with constructed in mind. And so as a result, they're really just kind of like decently efficient bodies. Or commander, exactly.
To me, right?
100%. Yeah, like O'Hare Talk, the white one. It's like, okay, do you want a 6/6 vigilant for 6? It's like that's not bad, but the rest of the text on that card is not likely to come up. It just isn't.
I think the two like strongest gods that exist in the limited format is the green one because it is a big power toughness. It has trample. It gets you more creatures off the top of your deck onto the battlefield. Card's great. And the second one, even though you would want to think Bat God, but I think a lot of the black cards in this set are bad.
Actually, I was going to say Bat God, and I have a thought on that.
I think it's Bat God number 1.
Yeah.
You do?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I drafted it once.
Number 2 for me is the Blue God. Just the ability to give your removal spells rebound is great.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
But that's from my perspective. Again, only my opinion, but I particularly think that black is bad in this set.
It is.
In general,
it doesn't really pair well with most other colors. I think maybe that's, for me, what leaves the Bat God behind.
Totally fair.
But yeah.
No, that's
man, but you're right. The Bat God is so busted, though. Like, you're right. I totally agree that black is probably the worst color. Maybe second worst. I think it is the worst, actually, behind green. But this guy is ridiculous in limited. He attacks you, they draw cards, they make bodies, and you're like, and then he just comes back so quickly, especially in the late game, because you have 1 card in your hand. You're like, do I have to keep hopefully I draw another land so I can sandbag 2 cards here.
Yep.
But this thing's coming back, and it's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I hate that they come back.
I drafted this thing once. It was a black-white deck, and I managed to pick this up in like pack 2, pick 1. Obviously, it's not going pick 2 ever. And
No.
yeah, I was already in black-white. This showed up in the second pack. It's like, well, that's convenient. And I think that deck I got 5 wins with. And like 4 of them was 100% because this guy hit the field. Like 100%. There was no skill involved. It just showed up because the opponent would 2-for-1 themselves, like throwing like a reach block at it and then a piece of removal. And then it would flip into the land. And then it was just getting this thing flipped back over was just absolute clown shoes. It was no issue. And then boom, all of a sudden this 4/4 flying lifelinker's back. So deal with that, I guess. And it was just, I mean, there was once where this card alone, like straight up 4/1 one of my opponents and gained me like 12 life in the course of the game. It's like,
it's stupid. They're all pretty ridiculous, but
it's silly.
And they're not even the best cards in the set. Actually,
No!
Number 1 is the Dracosaur, and I've played against it once. I first picked it once. Pack 1 picks 1. I'm like, hey, Black Lotus, great, give me that. That's the set. And then I, of course, could not play red and left it in the sideboard. And my chat was like, force red! And I'm like, no, that's not how we do things around here. I love it as much as you do. But that card is another one that just... So there are big swingy bombs, but at least they're at Mythic. And for what Fabretto said, I think the format is not a Prince format. I agree with that. I think these are ridiculous bombs, but they're all Mythic. Great. You should not see these cards often.
Right.
Dan, don't you ever pass any of them. I know I hate the black color in this format as much as anybody. I don't think it's very good, but definitely slamming Bat God if I ever open that card.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, some of the mechanics are making splashes elsewhere though. Have you guys been jamming Standard? I know I haven't been playing much Standard. I've been getting ready for this Arena Open, but tell me what your experiences are in Standard with these cards.
Yeah.
of course. Tons of standard all the time. I've been playing lots of different brews. Obviously, we started with dinos, started with ramp. You know, we all played in Fight Club here, so you knew where I was going to start, and that was with a ramp deck.
Heck yeah.
I still think that there is a ramp deck in this format outside of just domain. Um, you know, with the amount of red-green cards by itself, without adding a third color, whether it's cards like Glimpse the Core, or into, Topiary Stomper is still legal with us, Hulking Raptor, being able to ramp into a more of a go-wide slot machine deck with Trumpeting Carnosaur and Atali Primal Conqueror and Tyrannix Rex for more finishers. Those cards are great. And the plus side is we don't have to deal with counterspells anymore with Cavern of Souls in the format. So I rather enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah.
It's really been a fun time playing more of a ramp strategy.
Heck yeah.
And interestingly enough, you can also just straight up play like a red-green Dino's more mid-rangey version, playing similar cards, right? You can, there's a really good Dino aggressive deck that's been doing well on Magic Online within the last few challenges. That's just straight up, let me play my Lore Seeker on 1, and let me play my 6/6 on turn 2, and turn 3 play my Raptor and swing, right? Those are legit strategies. And then being able to go up to the 6-drop and Itali. So I think...
Can I ask, how do you beat the Wrath? How do you beat Sunfall? Because that's my one concern with these decks is once they sweep you, and Sunfall's everywhere, what do you do about this?
So number one, you have to know how to play around that. And I know that's like kind of a weird answer to give, but most players don't play around Wraths, and they need to. Right. Number two, if you're playing cards like Tyrannix Rex, that card beats Sunfall. After they've wrathed your board of 2 or 3 creatures, you come at them with this hasty 8/8 attacker, and they can't beat you. Or you need to know to hold the Tali back or a Carnosaur back, just to be able to refill the board. Do they sometimes always have the second Sunfall or third Sunfall or fourth Sunfall? Yeah. But you're going to get to a point out of the game where they run out of their gas, right? And it's just bound to happen. You can also play cards like, if you want to get a little spicy, play Shigeki from Neon Dynasty. That will help you refill your hand with some of those cards that might have been wrathed from like Depopulate or something like this. I've seen some builds playing just like 1 or 2 on the sideboard, just a way to refill. But yeah, I would
card draw.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is green card draw. I know I've tinkered around with a couple of different builds of this as well, and I'm genuinely impressed at just how clean the ramp package is. Like, it is significantly more consistent than I expected. Because when you're kind of theory crafting, okay, Lore Keeper into Topiary Stomper into Bonehorde Dracosaur, how could I lose? And it's like, okay, yeah, fine. There are a million Magical Christmas Land curve outs that we can theorize about till we're blue in the face, but how consistent is that? And the reality is... exactly. Like, you think it's so easy to just kind of, what are the chances of this actually working? But when you're running Hulking Raptor and you're running Tyrannix Rex, these cards that are capable of delivering a ton of value, honestly, Hulking Raptor is the one that
that's the big piece.
I am shocked at how this card plays 10 times better than I expected.
Yes.
It's excellent. Because if you can get the Hulking Raptor down on turn 3, which is not hard, then all of a sudden on turn 4, if you're hitting your land drops consistently, I mean, T-Rex or Gishath is on the menu all of a sudden. Like, holy cow. Like, where did that come from? To the point where it puts your opponent in the position where they need to have the Sunfall or they are dead. Period.
For me...
Unfortunately, a lot of time they do have it, but yeah.
Yeah, for me, the red-green ramp deck reminds me a lot, and I'm not sure if I said this on the last podcast or not, so forgive me if I did, but it reminds me a lot of the Battle for Zendikar mono-green ramp deck. From Battle for Zendikar Standard, and I don't know how many people out there remember that format, but it did exactly what you were supposed to do. you cast the 2-drop ramp spell, the 3-drop ramp spell, turn 4 ramp spell into your payoff Ulamog. To me, the red-green deck seems the same way, except you're winning a turn earlier when you're casting your payoff, whether that's Itali, Rex, or the Carnosaur, so on and so forth. And I think that the Dracosaur doesn't even belong in that build, because you're disrupting a turn from ramping to play this 5/5 that, yeah, it's strong, but it's not really good against most builds. So I would, to me, it brings me back to that format. Granted, we don't have Ulamog type cards, but we do got a Galta, and Galta can get us into 2 Rexes if you want to go that wide.
You can get all kinds of silly stuff. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. Good enough for Pioneer. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Absolutely. I think the key with that ramp deck right now, it is seeing a lot of success, because I think the traditional adage of Bolt the Bird is something that people don't take seriously. And I think there are a lot of people who sit with a cut down in their hand or a ley line binding, and they are not willing to play it on the Lore Keeper. And then, once the stopper hits, it's too late.
They learn quickly. They learn their lesson.
They will.
As I did. I learned the hard way, playing over the years and learning. Yeah, and those are memes, but they're memes for a reason.
Exactly, yes.
Things like math is for blockers, and there's all these expressions in Magic, but they're there for a reason. There's a lot of truth to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Always Bolt the Bird.
Yeah, if your opponent has the Lore Keeper in their deck in Standard, they want to do some degenerate nonsense with it. If you have the opportunity to kill this thing, you have to kill this thing. Unless you're going up against me, because just please let me do my degenerate nonsense. But against everybody else, be aware, this is a problem. You need to get rid of it. Yeah.
Now, with that being said, Esper is still a very strong deck or variant in the Standard. Whether you're playing against the Legends version, that now is playing Tishana's Tidebender. That card is ridiculously good. I think in paper, at rare right now, that card's worth like $20. Okay?
Whoa.
It is the 3/2 flash for 2 and a blue. And it says Stifle, right? when it enters the battlefield, it counters an activated or triggered ability and turns that permanent vanilla. That's a key part. So the other day, I'm playing this card, and a Shieldred triggers. Wants me to lose 2 life. I flash this card in, I counter the Shieldred ability, and Shieldred then becomes a 4/5 vanilla creature for as long as you have Tidebinder on the battlefield. That's so good against, like, Rafine, right?
Wandering
you turn
Emperor,
that into a 1/4, right? You turn Wandering Emperor, it turns all Planeswalkers off. They're just a permanent with loyalty counters on it. That's it. Card is insane.
It's pretty great.
And I think it's the only non-legend creature that the legend deck's playing right now.
That's amazing.
That's interesting. I hadn't seen that, but go ahead.
Yeah, in the case of Shieldred, it even loses Death Touch. Like when we say vanilla, it's vanilla. Like that's vanilla. It's just a 4/5. That's all it is. Yeah, fantastic.
I think $20 is because of Commander and other formats. It's mostly Commander, right? Because in Commander you're playing way less spot removal. My one concern with this is, it's a ring, but it's super easy to kill. It's even more easy to kill than, Shoulder.
Yeah,
wait,
it dies.
You're telling me the black deck doesn't have cut down? Yeah, I was going to say, the black deck's going to cut it down. I don't know. And then suddenly they're going to block with their suddenly Death Touch Shoulder. No, but if they, at the stage of the game where they're getting to play shoulder stuff, ideally and depending on the deck you're playing, if you're Esper Legends, they have to use their removal on your Denic, your Rafine, your, whatever, before you untap with Skrelv or untap with a Plaza or whatever. So ideally, you're running them out of removal so that when this comes down, it stays, because that's obviously the weakest aspect of this card. Standard is the kind of format where everybody's jamming 8 to 12 removal spells. Commander this is amazing. Like, Commander just shutting down something, and there's so many powerful things. That makes sense. $20, yeah, I believe it. But Standard, I'm interested. So I played Esper, but I didn't play the version you're talking about. I didn't play Legends. I played Esper midrange, and I played with 4 of the Black Bat, the 2 bat that ETBs, the Mesmeric Fiend Bat.
Deep Cavern.
Don't know the name.
Yep.
Thank you, Deep Cavern Bat. Holy crap, that card is amazing in that deck. Why does it have lifelink? You go 2 mana Bat, you take their removal spell, you go into Rafine, and you start pumping it. It was like Denic was the best 2-drop because of that lifelink. So many decks could not race a giant lifelinker, just like the green-white enchantments deck back in the day would pump up that Jukai Naturalist, and it was just an 8/8 lifelink, and you're like, I can't. That's
How do I kill the card?
This
Answer
thing
is you don't.
flies. Yeah, and it flies, and it's just so it's always getting in there. 4 of these, 2 of the Schooner. The Schooner is incredible. People are calling it Smuggler's Copter. That's ridiculous insanity that they clearly didn't play with Spungler's Copter. But it's close. It's good. It's very, very good. I will admit, this card is ridiculous in that deck. Again, great 2-drop. Crew 1. This into Ravine, Crew, Swing. I know. It's super gross, this
My
card.
1/1 that wedding announcement makes taps to crew this creature, and then turns my 1/1 into a 2/2.
Yeah. That might token you pooped out last turn because you had the Mirrex Band lying around anyway. All of a sudden, it's on a boat.
Even just like I said, Ravine. Rafine's a 1/4, and being able to crew this and swing and get her connive trigger immediately, that is so good as a 2-3 play in Standard. I thought the deck was very impressive, and I think it did well at challenges. But again, that was a week ago. I don't know if things have changed, but so many things to try. So the ramp deck's interesting. And Ham, were you playing anything aside from the ramp, or what were you missing? I saw you Mardu. There was some Mardu nonsense you were doing, and I'm like,
I have done a little bit of Mardu nonsense and a little bit of Orzhov nonsense. The one that I've been enjoying, I don't think it's the real deal, at least not yet, but I've been thoroughly enjoying it, is an Orzhov sack deck leveraging Bartolome del Presidio. Like, that's one of those where it feels close. I feel like we're almost to something special with that. The free sack outlet, and it's funny because going into this set, the thing that we were missing were the shambling gas, the eye twitches, the cheap fodder. But now we have Market Gnome, and we have there were 2 or 3 other really solid little 1-drops in the set. The freebooter, exactly.
The freebooter, that's what I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah, well, there's that one too.
The gnome, I didn't even think of.
The Market Gnome's actually quite solid. Yeah. And so I have a deck rocking, Bartolome alongside. I don't have a Molly in there, but I have Vran, and then it's a lot of just super cheap stuff. Is the name of the game. It's just a ton of cheap little sack fodder, undead butlers, and the crawling choruses.
The new Deadly Dispute. What is it called? We called it Little Score back. In
Bitter Triumph. Yes.
Bitter Triumph. Is it Bitter Triumph?
No.
The one.
No.
Thank you. That's
the one. No, Bitter Triumph is fine, but that's
the one
a
that makes
different
a treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bitter Triumph's good. It was the Deadly Dispute. They kind of made it again, but Deadly Dispute fantastic in that exact deck, and 100%. Now you've got another Deadly Dispute. So
Yeah, Fnatic Offer can definitely get the job done. And the other thing that's great about this is if you have just an incidental map token or a blood token lying around, you can just sack that. And I think the thing is funny. I can understand why I got these mixed up because both art is depicting Vito in a similar composition in the shot. So that's
they're both black 2-drops.
Yeah. The other thing about Bartolome though, that I really just want to call out is this guy gets huge throughout the course of a game.
Oh yeah.
The fact that it's counters, like all of a sudden every map token you have, it just becomes a +1/+1 counter on him. I mean, as you're just doing the thing that the deck wants to do, this guy's going to become, an 8/7 before you know it, and all of a sudden your opponent's going to be in some really uncomfortable blocking positions. Shockingly good. And so I do think there's something to this. I don't believe I found the perfect setup yet. This is one of those, if Meat Hook Massacre was still legal, this would absolutely be a thing and everybody would be rocking it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not, so here we are.
There is one more deck that I think is up and coming that I just want to touch on, and it's going to be a good segue into our talk about different formats. Go Calper, very regular viewer on all of our channels, had submitted a deck for me to play that was a red-white Discover deck. And when I mean a Discover deck, I'm talking we're featuring Quintorius Canned.
Heck yeah.
Obviously has this static ability that says when you cast a spell from exile, deals 2 to the opponent, and then you gain 2, right? Mm-hmm. So this deck, respectively, starts on playing things on 2-drops, right? So playing cards like Autonomous Assembler from Brothers War, or playing like Virtue of Loyalty from Wilds of Eldraine. And then you're getting to play cards like Itali's Favor, right? That discovers 3, gives your creature +1/+1 and trample. Gets to play Geological Appraiser, which discovers 3 when that ETBs. Yeah. The whole point of this is to put on continuous discovers until you hit Imidane's Recruiter on 3. And that's going to pump your team. All of these things that you have discovered into, or the board presence that you've built up, it then pumps that team and you get to swing. Now, if you can land your perfect 2, 3, 4, 5 Quintorius, you usually win, because that Appraiser is going to discover into Itali's Favor. That can discover into another Itali's Favor. and you hit enough of these cards to where you Imadane's Recruiter and swing, that you win the game. You got these really big trample creatures. And if you need to go higher, you get to play cards like the Trumpeting Carnosaur and Steel Seraph, which will give your creatures evasion and stuff like this. It's pretty nifty. So I'm excited to like fine tune this type of a deck with that Quintorius at that top end. And I think maybe this deck is probably the best home that Quintorius has for standard currently.
Maybe.
But so, Damien, you know of some decks that Quintorius has been causing and running amok in other formats, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you're talking about, Geological Appraiser's another one. So the two Discover cards from this set that are making waves in Pioneer are Geological Appraiser and Quintorius, of course. So there was a challenge on the weekend, and everybody freaked out after, because when you go through the list of actual decks in this challenge, it's tons of red-black, it's tons of, blue-red Phoenix, there's blue-white control in there, all the usual suspects that we've seen for the last 2 years. Mono-green, I don't think was very well represented, because Phoenix is back now because of Sleight of Hand. Anyway, kind of what you expect. And then you get right to the top end. In first and second, there's two Discover decks, and they're not even the same deck. There's these two Pioneer Discover decks. Each one is built around a different key card that has Discover. This Geological Appraisers on the screen here will we'll go with that. So the deck basically, and this is what I was going to ask you about, the one that GoCalper submitted. So before I get into how the deck works, like most of these, I don't know, most of the people I talked to, or at least I thought initially, Discover is a nerfed version of Cascade. It's a more fair version of Cascade. And I know I said this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I know you and Hollywood were at first like, but you get to draw the card. And I'm like, yes, but this doesn't allow for the busted stuff that you can do with Cascade, because they limited it. You can't hit a 0-mana spell with this. I can't hit like a, whatever it is. I can't guaranteed hit a, 0-mana spell. Like Cascade was so good. People were back in Standard. People were playing cards that were vanilla creatures that just said Cascade on them. That's how good Cascade was, right? Now creatures all do other stuff. And so I thought, this is great. Fixed it. It's better. It's not busted. It's fair. But it's amazing what people came up, basically, because of that limitation and because of the way they've, kind of made cards more powerful by making a lot of them 2-for-1s, like the channel cards, like cards like Herd Migration, a lot of, and Leyline Binding, of course, one of the biggest offenders. These cards all cost more mana than you end up paying for them. So the price tag says 6 or 7, and you end up paying 1 or 2 and channeling it or whatever it is, right? So you're not even really casting them. But so, the way they build this deck, the Geological Appraiser comes down on turn 4. On turn 2, you're literally cycling. It's playing 4 Magma Opus. It's playing 4 one of the blue-red Strixhaven, like 7-mana sorceries that cycles for treasure.
I've heard the Grabby Giants use some there in that too sometimes. Yeah.
Or maybe Grabby Giant, sure. 2 mana, you're making here, and that's what's so crazy. The deck goes off on turn 3. So 2 mana, you're cycling to make a treasure. Turn 3, you're playing Geological Appraiser. The Appraiser can only hit a certain card, and it's going to be Eldritch Evolution every time, because the rest of the deck is all either cards that cost 6 or 7, or split cards, where when they change the rules regarding split cards, now both sides or both halves are combined when looking at casting cost in your deck. When it's deck, it's the combined casting cost, as you guys know. But for the people listening, this deck basically is constructed in a way just like the Crash of Rhinos deck, just like the Living End deck in Modern. You're avoiding hitting any other spells. So the Geological Appraiser must hit Evolution. Evolution sacks Appraiser, gives it the +2. You get the Carnus, or the is it the Carnosaur? Yeah, the red 6-drop. So Evolution, gets cast for free. 4 Appraiser has to hit this. This hits. The only other thing in the deck you can hit is a clone, which of course doesn't thing. You'll just clone the Appraiser, keep going until you either don't hit a clone or hit one of these. You get the 6-drop. Then the 6-drop discovers 5, and there's nothing else it can hit. So, it keeps chaining like this until eventually you put all the giant dinosaurs into play, and then put a 6-mana now can't remember the name, giant, a 6-mana giant with Fortell from Kaldheim that gives all your creatures haste, and you just smash them. So on turn 3, you just put your whole deck into play, 10 creatures, give them all haste, kill you. This deck comes out of nowhere.
Sign me up.
It kind of invalidates, it invalidates like fair decks like Boast Convoke and these kind of decks. You can't play a fair game if your opponent's doing this kind of stuff. The other version of this, playing Quintorius, same Discover idea, where all the cards in the deck cost 5 or more. They're all split cards. They're all, herd migration early, channeling Greater Tanuki to ramp. They're playing Beanstalk Giant to ramp. All these cards cost 6 and 7. Getting to Quintorius, you -4, and Quintorius can only hit Spark Double and one other clone. Spark Double not getting legendary means you have 2, 3, 4 Quintoriuses, and they keep hitting stuff, and they're all triggering, and you just drain your opponent out. So these two decks come out of nowhere. They crush the Pioneer Sunday special challenge, whatever. It was some showcase challenge, something like this, right? And all these people freak out. Like Twitter blows up. Sure. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, they ruined Pioneer.
Rip the Explorer ladder on Arena."
Yeah. Wait, I thought this was fixed Cascade. This is exactly the busted Cascade nonsense that people are doing. Like, Cascade is one of those mechanics. When you show a deck list, a newer player, a deck list from Modern, and say, "Look at this deck. Here's Crasher Rhinos, or here's Living End." They look at it and go, "What? Like, I don't get it. How
these cards suck. Why would you play this way?"
What is the combo here? These 0 mana cost cards? Like, how do you even cast this? 2 Rhinos? Like, why is that? This is Modern. We're playing One Ring and Bowmasters. And it's like, well, yeah, the mechanic's so busted. And this is such a great idea, or a great example of, the spikes will always find a way. Spike always finds a way. And the spiky players, they see this mechanic. Okay, they roll up their sleeves. You think this is a fixed version? All right, they break it. So Pioneer's turned on its head. This weekend, starting tomorrow, we have a bunch of regional championships. There's a big one in Canada here, in Toronto for our big regional championship. I know there's one in the States coming up soon. I know there's one more somewhere. But anyway, so this is a big deal right before the Pioneer Regional Championship. So it's caused a lot of turmoil, I suppose you could say, because these decks happen to be very good against the more fair decks. Mono Green, Boros, Convoke, stuff like that. However, they all get undone completely by counter magic and a timely spot removal spell. Like, it's like crazy how easy. Or so you look at the sideboards of these two decks. Both of them are playing 3 and 4 Thought Distortion. Like, you can tell blue-white control is their worst matchup. And then they've got a bunch of other stuff that, like, split mana cards that counter triggered abilities, or there's a couple split mana black cards for aggro. But it's mostly just anti-control cards, and it's kind of funny because blue-white control is a deck in Pioneer, but it hasn't been one of the best decks for a while. It's been tier 2 for quite a while. So it'll be interesting to see if suddenly it makes blue-white control viable again. If everybody's busting out this bizarre deck, a lot of people I think are shying away from it because it's too new. But it's taken Pioneer by storm a week before the RCs. So a lot of people are kind of like, "Oh my god, is this a real thing? Should I take a stab with this at the RC?" Like, a lot of people are not going to know how to play against it. They're not going to know what you're up to. So the Quintorius deck looks like a 5-color Karuga deck. It plays Karuga in the companion slot. They can see that. They think you're a 5-color, like, Fires deck or something. Karuga Fires, and then you just turn 3, do whatever, and I win. Or some ridiculous play combo deck and just win. Anyway, it's going to be interesting. I don't know how much you guys play. So this is Bleeding Explorers. So now people are doing the same idea. You're missing some stuff, but Eldritch Evolution exists. Obviously, the Discover cards are legal. Some of the split mana cards are not around, so you lose those. But the Quintorius deck, of course, gets all of its, it plays Leyline Binding and Herd Migration and all that stuff. So I don't know if this is replicable. Like, if you can replicate this in Explorer, but in Pioneer, it's a real thing.
My understanding in Pioneer, or in Explorer rather, there are variants leveraging Quintorius, as well as the 3-mana clones. That's like the big thing. Like, so it's more leaning on those, but it's a similar concept. Your Glass Pool mimics in your mirror images, and so as a result, you get as many of those 3-drop clones as you can possibly cram into the deck, and then you hit the Geological Appraiser, you hit all 8 of those that you have into the deck, bam, 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 bam. And if you have Quint down and do the down tick first, then you're getting a ping for every one of those. Or you pass the turn and just sit with a bunch of stuff open and really hope they don't have the Anger of the Gods, which is a pretty lame situation to be in.
The play patterns are not good. And
not great.
Like I said before,
Oh, all good. No worries.
Yeah, it's a very good deck to play. It's interesting when it pops off, you just win, right? It's not like a pops off and maybe I win. It's guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, like sign me up to play multiple Quintorius. Like I'm game for that.
Yeah, Quintorius
is cool.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so this is supposed to be fixed Cascade. Clearly, it's having the same issues as Cascade. What are they doing? So a lot of people are like, oh God, like they and I know you guys aren't gonna like to hear this, but I blame Commander. I blame Commander for these cards. I'm sorry. Cascade is one of the most popular mechanics in Commander. People love playing with this dice roll. They loved it. And I get it. That's why Italy. People love Italy. They love Breach the Multiverse. They love this stuff, right? Dice roll. Ooh, I hit the giant thing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, speaking of giant things, sorry, I almost forgot the Geological Appraiser combo deck finishes with Galta. That was the big finish there. I forgot they have one Galta to go into 8.
Anyway, let's go.
So these decks are Timmy decks, right? People love the Cascade. They love that. So they made Discover again because they know how popular Cascade was, and they wanted to make more Cascade-like cards, but they knew they couldn't fall into that same trap with the old ones that you can do busted stuff with. So they did this, and here we are. So I feel like it's a Commander mechanic. They shouldn't have messed with it. They should have just they know how dangerous it is, and so this is an example of them even trying to nerf a mechanic and it being too strong. It's like Companion, right? They were free at first, and then they nerfed it, and then they were still too good, and they had to be banned, and it was like, oh God.
And it's an ability that only gets better the more they create cards that perfectly synergize with it.
100%.
So this is only where we are with Discover for Lost Caverns of Ixalan.
Yeah.
In the next set, they could just print more busted cards that care about getting cast from exile, right?
I think so. Yeah, and I've talked about this before, but this is the core. This is the crux of a lot of the issues, I think, with the game that we love and how they're designing it in this day and age and who they're catering to, and the casual crowd and stuff. You got to get Commander and other sets separate. I feel like when they try and do this kind of stuff, to me I get the stench of Commander all over it. Like whether it's Discover, whether it's the Legends or the God Cycle, or you can tell they're trying to jam a bunch of casual mechanics and Commander stuff into these sets, and it's having a negative impact on Constructed. I think it has a negative impact on Limited. Here we are going into the play boosters. I mean, it's kind of even more. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but this mechanic is causing a lot of problems already in Pioneer, I guess, or I don't know. These are bad gameplay loops, and this is not enjoyable gameplay, and this is going to be... I hope they don't have to... Can you imagine if they ban one of these cards in Pioneer? I don't even want to say the B word, but
Listen, if they do that before they ban Fable the Mirror Breaker in that format, you know that we're definitely have gone wrong.
That's a good point. Fable is great, but Fable doesn't keep decks from existing or keep decks from being good. This kind of a combo deck that's consistent and powerful can keep whole swaths of decks from really being viable. That's, I don't think anybody wants that, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see where it ends up.
It'll be interesting to see. I wonder if they're good hosers for this. I wonder if there are tools that can help with this. But it's funny that you draw the comparison to Commander, because one of the things that I've noticed recently in Commander specifically, if you think the power creep that's trying to cater to Commander players appearing in standard sets is bad, have you looked at the stuff they're willing to print for Commander specifically?
Oh yeah, no, I don't.
Holy cow!
I heard. I know.
Just as a quick example, I'm not going to go over the card in detail here, but Indominus Rex, this thing, it is a 6-mana 5/5 that enters with basically whatever keywords you want and draws 1 million cards while filling your graveyard. It's a 5-mana 6/6 with upside for days. This is one of those where it's Pantlaza, yeah, exactly. These cards are
if you weren't tired of Discover in Standard, you can do it in Commander with literally the face commander of one of the Ixalan decks, and you can slot machine until your heart's desire.
And fun fact,
people love it.
That card and the other face commanders from the Commander decks for Lost Caverns of Ixalan, those are on Arena. They're not legal in any format other than Historic Brawl, but if you want a Pantlaza Historic Brawl deck, get after it. They're out there. One Mythic Wild card, you're off for the races. Go nuts.
We're doing it.
Yep. So yeah, they've started doing that, which is neat. I'm cool with that. But yeah.
Yeah,
but,
Commander is very pushed, and that's okay.
100%.
Commander is the most busted format. It has
Let's
been
get big
for a
and
long
silly.
time, and that's okay. If you want to play really degenerate stuff, that's the place to do it. I mean, even more than Legacy and stuff like that.
Totally.
They have a smaller ban list than Legacy. But, so yeah, like Commander and people like Rule Zero and all that stuff existing. I mean, people play Commander how they want, and they can choose to not allow certain strategies and do all kinds of things. But competitive constructed Magic, we don't have that luxury, and we're affected by this. Like every competitive, it's rough when Legacy's unplayable because of initiative cards, or Pauper's unplayable because of some commander mechanic, or here we go with Pioneer, and it's like, we knew this was playing with fire, and they decided to nerf it, and hey, it's great in limited, it's great, but in those more powerful formats, yeah, it's kind of wild to see it.
Do you remember, Damien, them printing a card called True Name Nemesis in a commander deck, and that became Legacy legal? And
you know what's great? You go to the store as a new player. Oh, I want to play Commander. Oh, well, these are the 5 pre-con decks we have. This one's $40. This one's $40. This one's $40. This one's $120. And you're like, wait a minute, what? Why is that? Is that the best? That must be the best one.
No, not really. No,
because of that.
That card's not even really played in Legacy anymore.
Not anymore. No, you're right. It's hilarious. I mean, that just goes to show you, power creep and everything else. But
totally.
Anyway, so we'll see where Pioneer ends up. I think, it's we'll see what happens this weekend. We might see a Cascade or Discover deck with Contorius or a 4-drop uncommon combo deck crush the regional championship.
It's possible.
So,
You know what? I got a hot take when it comes to Discover.
Uh-oh.
You can't fix Cascade.
Cascade
is a broken mechanic. It will do broken stuff. If your new mechanic behaves like Cascade, somebody's gonna break it, and you're not gonna like it.
It's like free mana's the same way. Like, don't go back and try and fix Phyrexian mana. Please don't.
Just let it be.
Another slew of busted cards and domain. I mean, domain's all over the place, but like Leyline Binding, anything that costs way less, like these kind of things, they gotta stop playing with fire. We know the problem with Modern right now is there's too many free spells. I was listening to a podcast where they're talking about, sometimes people talk about what should they unban in Modern.
Sure,
what should they unban? And it's got a very big ban list, Modern, very big after all these years. A Splinter Twin, sure. I mean, there's many, and you could argue back and forth. And it's funny when you actually think about when some of these cards were banned. The Evoke Cycle Elementals didn't exist. Just the fact that Endurance, that one card, exists, I think a lot of these decks just would dredge. Would some of these decks even matter? With Urza Saga fetching up a Grafdigger's Cage, or a 1-mana hate card, or Karn. They banned Mycosynth Lattice. Karn is the problem. Lattice would not be a broken card in Modern, but Karn's still here, and now the Tron deck doesn't even play the big Karn; they just play the little one. Endurance is one, because these cards never existed before. I think there are a lot of things they could take off. I think power creep is what I'm talking about here, and True Name was the example where that card was 60. I don't know, it was a lot of money. It was in some of the best Stoneforge legacy decks and stuff, and then not a peep from it today. It just doesn't even show up, right? It's crazy. So I wonder, but some of those cards we used to revere. Splinter Twin, would
Splinter Twin is one.
I don't know. How could it be?
At this point, I mean, I understand that in its day it was the problem.
It's what I played.
I accept that,
all the way. And trust me, I could not play this deck right now. Are you kidding? With Solitude in the format?
Yeah, it's a 4-mana aura.
They just Solitude. It's free. They got Force of Negation.
Don't talk about the free spells. That's
subtlety.
Forbidden.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying these decks wouldn't even be good right now because free spells are so busted. None of these
are forbidden, and we're not allowed to talk about that.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
And I don't know. I also find the whole Splinter Twin thing hilarious because it's like, do you really think you're just gonna Pester Might Beatdown as a plan B right now? Like, come on.
Snapcaster Bolt them to death.
Yeah, exactly. Woo, we got it. Yeah, come on.
Bro, we can't even play Snapcaster Mage in this format.
I was praying. I was like, when Lord of the Rings came out, I'm like, Flame of Anor, please let Gandalf give me the flame. Let me have Snapcaster be good again with Flame of Anor. No. Flame of Anor sees play in the Rhino's deck, but it doesn't see play with Snapcaster. Anyway, so formats are all over the place, and I thought this card, single-handedly Snapcaster turns on both modes or whatever, but no, not good enough.
But not good enough still. Wild.
I have a Japanese playset just rotting in my
Oh
card
no,
box.
that's
Anyway.
you hate to see it.
But I got good use out of them. I remember when they were the $20 rare in standard, and everybody's like, $20 for a rare? That was unheard of back then. Only Mythics cracked like $30 in standard ever. And Snapcaster was 20 plus like the whole time it was legal because it was so good. But the good old those days are long gone.
Yeah. No, I believe it.
Yeah. Anyway, so is there anything else we want to touch on today? Yeah, poor Snappy.
Go Snappy.
Maybe someday.
Yep.
I guess I will just mention one more thing because we do it every podcast, but it's definitely getting more and more annoying now. Please, if anybody here from Wizards of the Coast is watching our podcast, please fix the direct challenge bug. Yes. A lot of us can't do the great content that our viewers like in terms of viewer battles because the game doesn't work. And, you know, I understand that y'all are having this at your top priority, that you want to fix the issue so we can play the game properly. But, you know, on our streams, 2/3 of the battles we try to do with our viewers legit don't work. So I invite you, come into any of our streams at any given point in time. We will show you in live, real action time how the bug happens and what is the errors that we're getting. So hopefully we can fix this problem. 100%. And we're not just talking for us and the content we make, but there were tons of great community events out there, tournaments that were occurring for people to test their decks to play in, which led to more people playing the game. So we understand it's at your top priority to fix this problem, but we got to get on it because now the bug is actually worse than it was last month. Meaning it's happening more frequently, and it's so random. I can literally battle one person and then not be able to the next time they challenge me. So whatever we got to do to work together to get this situated, please, let's do it.
100%. And we're not like kidding. We're not being snarky, by the way. Legitimately, if somebody out there from Wizards of the Coast gets this message for like somehow, like I know Carlo, Steve Alberto Jr. on Twitch, and myself, Hamhawks42, we both do viewer battles very frequently and are encountering this issue all the time. Legitimately, we are not kidding. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we will simulate the issue in real time so you can look at the logs and see what the heck is going on, hopefully. Like, honestly, if it's going to help us get this fixed, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Yeah, because it's getting to a point where it's becoming very problematic. And, I mean, it always has been, or it has been over the last month or so. So... And yeah, exactly. It's getting more frequent. And
I mean, I don't know if anybody will hear it, but I hope they get on it. It is a big issue, and it's I mean, like we said, Twitch Rivals is coming up a week from this recording.
On the 4th, December 4th. And, so we'll see because it's got to be fixed by then, or we're gonna have some massive issues on a very big stage. So
we'll see.
Yikes.
We'll see what happens. Regardless,
hopefully
all the issues get fixed. Hopefully, play design stop messing with old powerful mechanics and I don't know that stuff, and Commander gets separated into a separate set or something that comes out for just Commander. It would be great to just have a draft set only for drafting, like no other constructed considerations or casual considerations. It would just be the best draft format ever. But I know drafting is not the most popular way to engage with Magic, so that probably won't ever happen. But
could you imagine though, like a draft format where like there are barely any, like, I mean, the rares are all are all super lame, like as far as constructed is concerned, and just
it's almost like
a whole bunch of 50-cent rares. Let's go.
Or Peasant Cube. Like Cube is essentially like that, like perfectly designed, limited environment, and you can design it however you want. You can make it powerful, make it like what you said. But we'll see. A lot of things to take care of. But did we get any jank mail?
At this particular moment, we have not had anyone reach out and request specific topics or ask us direct questions. But if you're out there and you're listening to this and you want to engage with us, feel free to hop into our Discord server. The link for that is in the description. You can also tweet at us, tag @MagicJank, and if you wouldn't mind using the hashtag JankMail, that'll help us find it nice and easily, and we'd be happy to respond to any questions or feedback you have on air. Assuming that it's like safe for broadcast, but
yes, I will talk about anything.
Yeah, we'd love to hear you. We'd love to hear from you. So please don't hesitate to jump on out there. All right.
Nice.
And with that, folks, well, thank you so much for, for a great conversation. Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. Before we go, let's go around the horn and let people know where they can find you out on the internet. So, Damien, let's go ahead and start with you. Where can people find you?
I'm on Twitch, baby, every day. Damien F16 on Twitch, Damien F16 on YouTube, daily content on YouTube. I stream 6 days a week, usually playing Magic a lot, playing other games 1 day a week on Saturdays. So join us for that. And always good to mostly competitive stuff. But every once in a while, I run a clinic and show my viewers why I'm the streamer and they're not. But these, no, you guys were talking about battling viewers. I do it sometimes. But now the excuse is, oh yeah, no, we can't direct challenge. Because I don't always enjoy. If I play a good deck, people don't. They don't like that. I play a lot of control decks. Don't like it. So anyway,
well,
no viewer battles, but all the other stuff. Yeah, go.
Even when you're doing janky stuff, sometimes like I'll bring a very awkward deck, and like it just happens to counter exactly what they're doing, and it's like I don't know what to tell you. Like, it happens. It is what it is. Anyway, and Carlo, how about you, my friend? Where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, so my name is Carlo, or _Jr. on Twitch, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, and Threads, if that still exists. All the same handle. You can find those in the links below. I typically stream 4 nights a week on Twitch. I do lots of viewer-created content, so if somebody's got a deck and they want me to play it on the ladder, I do that. I race to Mythic every season playing viewer decks. Or working on decks that viewers have submitted for me to play. And then, of course, we do viewer battles occasionally. And we've been getting into this mode of doing charity streams every once in a while. So I do have a charity stream coming up on December 23rd. That is the benefitstackup.org. That is an organization that benefits U.S. veterans and armed forces who are dealing with a mental health issue and use gaming as that sort of medium to work through those mental health issues. So if you're interested in that, make sure you stop by the stream on December 23rd.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
Dude.
Love it. Yeah, and I'm Haymox42 on all the places. And of course, by all the places, I mean MySpace, Friendster, and LinkedIn. So I look forward to seeing you all out there. And also streaming on Twitch, of course. But that goes without saying. In any event, we'll be back next week, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We definitely appreciate it. We look forward to catching you next week and getting all that lovely jank mail. So, yeah, we look forward to hearing what you want to hear us talk about. And we'll be there. So, yeah, have a good one, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.